Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So I just want to put this out there. This is going to be a little bit of a different video than I do. Okay, if you're subscribed to my channel, I do a lot of tarot videos. Okay, I like tarot, so I film a lot of that, but this video is going to be different. Okay, so if you don't want to watch it, click off. I'm just hoping maybe this video will get out to the right person, you know, who needs to hear this. But this video is going to be talking about my addiction and how I got into my addiction, you know, what led me there, and then how, you know, I have worked on breaking free of my addiction. So, yeah, let's get into this. So, first of all, I'm 27. I will be 28 on May 1st. And I spent about 5.5 years in active addiction. So, I mean, let me try to explain it, okay? I'm gonna try to get everything like compiled into one. I might trail off a little bit. I have ADHD, you know, but I'm gonna do the best I can to just make everything make sense. So one thing that I will say, so when I was about 16, 17, I was into alcohol, okay? That was like the first drug that I got into, was the alcohol. And, you know, unfortunately, I was kind of already in the scene of that because my mother was an alcoholic back in the day. Luckily, she, you know, got the help that she needed. She got sober. She has not had alcohol in a very long time, so I'm very grateful for that. And then also my father, now I never really got to know him, but he was an alcoholic. He actually, unfortunately, passed away, and a little bit of that did have to do with his alcoholism. And then my sister's father, who I grew up with for a little bit, he was a full-blown alcoholic. He would drink like a 30-pack a day, like every single day. And it was horrible because he would like go through these episodes when he didn't have it. It was bad. So the thing is, I was already kind of pre-exposed to the addiction. So yeah, about 16, 17, you know, unfortunately, I dropped out of school. You know, I'm not proud of that, but it happened. And I started a party. Got into alcohol pretty bad for a few years. You know, I drank every single night. You know, I knew people who could get me the alcohol. It was not hard to get it. It really wasn't. Hold on, I gotta take a quick sip of my water. It wasn't hard to get it. And I did that for a long time. Well, finally, you know, I cut that out. My ex-boyfriend had went to prison, and, you know, I don't want to say he was an alcoholic, but he liked to drink, you know what I mean? I mean, he wasn't one of those, like, belligerent people who, you know, like other people I was exposed to, like my sister's dad, for example, you know, and even my mom, back in her day, she was, like, belligerent drunk. Like, it was absolutely horrible. But anyways, my ex had went to jail, and that kind of cleaned me up. So I wasn't drinking anymore or any of that stuff. But I ended up getting back with another ex, and he was addicted to heroin. And that was probably one of the roughest things that I've ever been through. And I'll get a little bit more into that as we go. But after all this, you know, fast forward through time, I got another relationship. And this was going to be the most toxic ride of my life. And, you know, unfortunately, I should have known when I got with him that things were a little off, because like the first time we hung out, he blew a perk 10 in front of me. Now, at that time, I was not into the pills. Okay, like I said, you know, in the past, I struggled with the alcohol. I had a really, you know, difficult time with the alcohol. But I had never really dabbled in to the pills. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, I should have walked away then, but this kind of took me down the whole path of where I am now. So I almost kind of feel like that had to happen. And I'll get more into that too. And it's really funny because my addiction is kind of what got me into my path of, you know, tarot and spirituality, you know, and I will do another video on that. I'm not going to explain all that. We'd be here for hours, and I want to try to make this as short as possible. So I'm going to do the best I can. So bear with me. But anyways, so the boyfriend, blew that perk 10 in front of me, and he offered. He's like, hey, do you want some? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm just gonna smoke a little bit of green. Now, I do like green, okay? I don't have an issue with that. To me, it's a plant. I mean, that's the way I look at it, it's a plant. But everything else, I am kind of against now. But anyways, I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm just gonna smoke. You do you. Well, time went on and we just kind of fell hard for each other. You know what I mean? Like, he fell in love with me. I had fallen in love with him, and we just kind of sunk together, and time went on. A little bit of time had went on. I'd say probably about a month into seeing him, and he had continued to do what he does, right? He would continue to do the lines, blow the pills, blah, blah, blah. And finally, that one night, I decided to give in. I was like, you sure you don't want a line? Are you sure? I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll take one. And that is where it all began. And, I do get a little emotional about it. It was a very, very long road. Very long road. And that was it. As soon as I, blew that line, it was over. I had just completely lost control. That became an everyday thing. And it's really crazy because when I had fallen into it, my mom and everyone knew around me, that this wasn't good what I was doing. They'd always tell me, like, you need to stop doing this. It's going to get worse. Please stop doing this. And, you know how us, addicts are. We get so defensive because we don't want people to tell us that we have a problem. We don't want to hear it. That is the last thing that we want to hear. It brings on that shame. It brings on that guilt and a lot of anger. Like with me, it was a lot of anger. I was such a hateful, disgusting person when I was addicted to drugs. I don't even want to get into some of the stuff I did, but I'm going to tell you what, you can probably take a guess. A lot of dishonesty, a lot of theft, just things that I'm so ashamed of, and I just have to say, it's not easy getting on here in front of God knows who is going to see this and, be vulnerable like this and, say these stories, because a lot of us addicts, we live in that shame. There is a lot of shame and a lot of judgment, surrounding addiction, so it's very difficult. But anyways, I just kept sinking further and further. And a lot of this started in 2014. 2014 is when I went downhill. First it was a couple Vicodin and then Percocet. And then as time went on, I started to go a little bit harder. And that was like the Dilaudid and the morphine. And the morphine is what really did it for me. Now, the thing was, back when I had first started doing it, I was able to do it like in increments. You know what I mean? I could go a couple days, and then I could go time without it. I had no withdrawal symptoms. I would not withdraw. I think the worst thing that would happen, I'd get really irritable. That's the only withdrawal symptom I had. I had no physical effects. It was perfectly fine. And see, that's what kind of made me think I'm good. You know what I mean? I can do it. I'm not withdrawing. And see, the reason I knew that is because, for one, my other ex that I talked about who, did the heroin, I watched him withdraw, and it was so bad to the point where, he was puking up blood. He was sick, So when I was kind of, starting out, in my addiction, and when I was actually able to just go, a few days and then stop and then start up again, I didn't get that physical sickness. The only thing that I had was irritability. I was pissed off at everything. I would snap. I was miserable. But I didn't have that physical effect yet. So, you know, I would say probably about 2017, I got into the morphine. Summer 2017, I started doing the morphine. And that's when it really got bad. And one day, I ran out. I didn't have anything. I couldn't get a hold of my, person to get the stuff. And let me tell you what, I felt like complete death. And I knew that day, I was like, oh my God, it finally hit me. It finally hit me. I went all this time being able to, do it for a few days and go without it. A little bit of irritability, that's fine. I can handle that, right? That's not a big deal. But I have never felt such sickness in my entire life. It was absolutely horrible. And from that day on, I started using every single day for like 3 years. See, like the first 2 years, because I went about 5.5 years in active addiction. So like the first, 2.5-ish years, I could start and stop. Absolutely no problems. And then when I started doing that morphine, summer 2017, it was over. It sucked me right up. It hooked me right in. And granted, I was still, with my boyfriend who has always been an addict. Unfortunately, it's all he's ever known. And yeah, I was hooked. And that day when I felt that sickness was the day that I ran. And I could not stop. My biggest issue that I had in addiction was the sickness. Okay? I didn't really do it to like escape pain, I guess. I know a lot of people fall into addiction because they're trying to numb pain, they're trying to run from something. Unfortunately, my addiction started because I was around the wrong people. It was almost kind of that peer pressure. But see, the thing is, like, he had never, like, put a gun to my head and said, look, blow this line or I'm going to shoot you. You know what I mean? It was not like that. I chose to make that decision, and I made that decision, and unfortunately, it led to a very long, destructive road. And honestly, it's one of the hardest things that I've ever had to face. And, if you know, you know what I mean? If you've been there, you understand, you know what it's like. It takes everything from you. All my money, I had nothing. I literally had nothing, and the thing with me, I was a functioning addict. I could get up, go to work every single day. Now, back in 2016, I did get fired because after about 2 years, I did start to, now I wouldn't go in like full-blown withdrawal like when I got on the morphine, but I would have those days where I would wake up and I just wouldn't feel good. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I don't really feel good, so I kept calling in. I got hired, at this job, and it's really sad because it was a job that I wanted for a very long time. And unfortunately, my actions had consequences. And I called in like my first week working there, and that is a big no-no. And I got fired. And it was devastating. It took me so long to find a job. And then that following summer is when I started doing the morphine, and that's when I knew I was really hooked. Because like I said, when we are an addict, we live in denial. We do not want to admit that there is a problem. It's just how our brain works. If you know, you know. It's hard to admit these faults. We don't want to admit it. But yeah, that summer is when I was instantly hooked. And from that day on, I went every single day doing something. But I never got fired again. That was the only job I got fired from. And I made sure that I would always have something to get me through that day, no matter what. And that's what I did. And it got really tough in my relationship too, because he was the type that could like sit there and blow like 10 to 15 pills, you know. But I was the type where I wanted to conserve. So he'd go through 10 pills in a night. I'd go, you know, get 10 pills, and they'd last me like 5 days because I would like break them up just enough to get me out of bed and to get me to work. That was it. That's all I needed, just that little sliver just to get me through. And one thing I will say, I never did get into heroin. And I thank my ex for that, because I saw how sick he was, and obviously heroin is a lot worse. And unfortunately, I had some people that I went to high school with, and they weren't so lucky. You know, they were very young when they passed away. And some of them like had families, they had kids, and unfortunately they overdosed and they didn't make it. And that was one of the things that kind of stopped me from getting into the heroin. So I never got into that. It was just pain pills. So, but it was really rough. I watched a lot of people that I grew up with die at a very young age because of it. Obviously, you know, addiction is a very awful thing. And I just wish that it wasn't such a shameful, you know, topic of discussion, you know, because even me, like, I still kind of feel shame. You know, I did a lot of horrible things and I'm not proud of it. But anyways, yeah, so summer 2017, I was hooked, you know, that was it. And I went until November 12th, 2019. And I don't know. See, it's different for all of us. I think most addicts have a breaking point, okay? They have a breaking point. And, you know, even like before November 12th of 2019, you know, I would sit there with myself and just be like, I want to get help so bad. Like, I'm tired of this. I had nothing. I had basically sold all of my valuable possessions. A lot of sentimental things that I had, I just sold them because I needed money. And, you know, in the past, I'd stolen from loved ones. Not something I like to admit. It's very, very hard to say that stuff. And it makes me emotional. It makes me feel bad, you know what I mean? Because I caused so much pain to people that I loved because I was so sick. You know, and addiction hijacks your brain. It literally hijacks your brain. That's the best way, that I can explain it. It literally hijacks your brain. It will have you doing shit that you never thought you would do. And you can't even help it. You know, I know a lot of them are like, oh, why are you doing this? It's like, dude, you are just so stuck. It's so hard to explain. I mean, if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? If you haven't been there, I just don't think you're going to understand until you've walked that path. You know what I mean? It's hard to explain unless you've lived it, is what I'm saying. But I was tired of not having anything, you know? I felt like shit all the time. I was very thin. I was miserable. I was so fucking miserable. Like, I hated myself. I was a ball of hatred. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, everything pissed me off. I was mean. And most of all, I was mean to myself. You know, I didn't take care of myself. All I cared about was getting that damn line up my nose. That's all that mattered from the minute I woke up to the time I laid down. And that's all I chased every single day. You know, how am I going to get that? Because I'm not going to lie. There were periods where it was very hard to get a hold of, you know, and then I would have those other people come up and be like, hey, you know, I can get you H. You know, you want H? And I just knew. I'm like, no. You know, I guess I will just fucking get sick and die because I'm not touching that. And I'm proud of myself for that. You know what I mean? Because, you know, when you're addicted like that, man, you get desperate. Like, you already know. I don't even have to explain. Like, you know, like, you get desperate. And you would do anything to get something. It's just hard, you know, it's a really hard thing, you know, and like I said, even talking about it, it breaks my heart to like look back and think about some of the things I did. But anyway, I was tired of not having anything. I was tired of being broke. And November 12th, you know, is when I made that decision. So actually the week before, I had got on the phone. I, you know, started looking for like outpatient, you know, because I have a job and everything, and I didn't want to walk away from that. I didn't want to lose my job, you know. I'm going to be honest with you, how I was able to function and hold everything that I did in my active addiction is beyond me, because like some other old friends and stuff that I had, they lost everything. They were literally sleeping outside in just a sweatshirt because they had nothing. I was able to keep an apartment. I was able to hold my job. Like I said, you know, that other job that I got fired from, you know, I basically just told myself, like, we're gonna have to like make sure that we always have something so I don't fall back into this. And that's exactly what I did for years. I'm telling you, every single day I had something. There was not one day after that, you know, summer with the morphine that I would not have something. I made sure, you know, I was not going to go without no matter what. And I didn't. But I got so fucking sick and tired of it, you know, and then I started like lying all the time and sneaking around and just doing shit that I would not have done ever sober, you know, stealing, lying, and all that other stuff. You know, I don't even want to get into some of it, but like I said, you know, you can probably take a few guesses. But that week before November 12th, 2019, I got on the phone to a couple outpatient facilities, you know, and I called and I left a message. And I'm like, look, I have finally come to the point in my life where I need help. I can't do this anymore. You know, yeah, I had a job. Yeah, I had a car. Yeah, I had a place to live, but I had no money. I had nothing. Like, I could barely even, you know, get food and stuff because all my money went for drugs. So, you know, I told them, I was like, I need help. You know, I'm really, really addicted. I want to get off this stuff. I don't know what to do. I don't really have like the best support around me, you know, and unfortunately, like my mom, like doesn't even live near me. She lives like 3 hours away, you know, so I didn't really have that. So yeah, I told them no support. I need help. So I think I called like 4 places in the area, you know, because unfortunately there wasn't really a lot to offer outpatient wise. I mean, they did have some like inpatient, but I wasn't willing to do that, you know what I mean? Because like I said, I had my job, and at the time, you know, I had a car payment. Like, I couldn't just leave stuff, you know what I mean? It wasn't that easy. So one of those places called back. They called back that Friday. And I was very, very grateful for that call. And they said, yep, we got your message. We're willing to help you. Can you come in, you know, on Monday? And that day was the 11th. It was November 11th. So I'm like, yeah, of course, you know, I will be there. So I went the Monday morning, and, you know, I did all the paperwork and whatnot. I talked to the doctor, and what I ended up doing was doing maintenance medication. Okay, I'm sure you've heard. There's methadone, there's Vivitrol, there's Suboxone, there's Sublocade. I think there might be another one. I don't know for sure, but those are the ones that I know of. I wasn't going to do the methadone, that's for sure. And I didn't really want to do the shot at the time. I kind of wish that I did, now that I look back on it. I'll get into that. But what I decided to do was be an orphan, the Suboxone. So that's what I did. And, you know, unfortunately, I've already heard, I know, you know, the reputation and the rap that medication gets, you know, and the methadone and everything. A lot of people just seem to want to attack you and be like, oh, you know, you're trading one thing for another, you know, and if that's how you feel, that's fine. Okay, but what we're not going to do is shame addicts for their pathway to recovery. There is no wrong way to recover. Okay, there's no wrong way to recover. Whatever works for you, whether it's maintenance medication, whether it's AA meetings, whether it's just finding God. You know, there's so many different steps that you can take, and whatever works for you is perfectly fine. And don't ever let anybody tell you otherwise. Because see, the thing that gets me the most at the end of the day is half of these people that say that, they've never even been addicted to drugs, but they seem to be the ones that have the most to say about it. I mean, I have been bashed so many times, you know, for being on buprenorphine and how I'm not sober, how I've traded, you know, one drug for another. But see, the thing with me, like, recovery is like getting back what you've lost. And I got everything back that I lost. You know, I gained so much back, you know, and I will say it helped me. You know, the Suboxone helped me. It did. It gave me my life back. I was able to save money. I was able to take care of myself again. And guess what? I wasn't out on the streets buying illegal drugs, you know? And like I said, I know a lot of people, they're just so fucking judgmental. And see, that's another thing that makes it so hard for a lot of people in recovery too, because they're constantly getting judged, you know? And I understand, you know, when you go through that, it's hard. Because see, now what happens is you have to gain back that trust from people that you love, that you've hurt so much. And it's not always easy to do, you know, because you are being constantly judged. You are being constantly watched. You know, it's not easy. Like, going through this is not easy. You know, and like I said, if you haven't been through it, don't freaking judge it, man, because you don't get it. You really don't. But yeah, like I said, there's no wrong way to recover. Not at all, you know, and the Suboxone helped me. I will say, in my opinion, I don't think it is the best idea to stay on it, like, forever. I really don't. I definitely do think it's a good crutch to have, you know, maybe for a couple years, you know, and for me. So, on November 12th, 2019, I was prescribed Suboxone. And they put me on, I did 4 milligrams. Tried to do the 8, but the 8 was just, it was too much. You know what I mean? I couldn't handle it. I was too sick. I was throwing up everywhere. So I got stabilized at 4 milligrams. And, you know, that's what worked for me, you know? And actually, I have been on it for about 3.5 years. Now, as of today, it is, I have to check the date because I don't even know. It is March 28th, 2023. I am actually in the process now of getting off this medication. Like I said, you know, I do not think it is meant to be on for the rest of your life. But, you know, I do know people who have been on it for like 15 to 20 years. You know what I mean? I'm not going to judge you. If that is what is going to help you and keep you sober, go for it. Okay? I want you to do what is going to help you continue this path of recovery, because I think it's very important. You know, it doesn't matter what you do. If that's what you want to do, so be it. Okay? If that's what works for you, please stay on it. You know what I mean? But for me, I just knew that it was time. I just knew that it was time. And I was actually really happy because I think it was January of this year. I went into my doctor. I go see him. It depends. Sometimes it'll be once a month. Sometimes it'll be like every 60 days. You know, it just depends. But I had went into the office and he actually asked me, he's like, hey, he's like, do you think that you are ready to start coming down? I'm like, yeah, actually. And it's funny because I was thinking about that, you know, I'm like, I don't want to be on this forever. You know what I mean? I eventually want to get off the medication, and I want to go back to my sense of normalcy. You know what I mean? So I'm like, yeah, absolutely. You know, I think we're getting to that time. You know what I mean? I've been on it for over 3 years. So yeah. So we started the taper, and as of right now, I am at 0.25. So I started, we did the 8, kind of leveled down a little bit because it was too much. I was too sick. I was throwing up all the time. I even got prescribed Zofran because my nausea was just out of this world. It was so horrible. Oh my God. So we leveled it out at 4, and that's what seemed to work for me. So that's what we did. Excuse my hair. But yeah, today I am on 0.25, and I'm continuing to taper down, and eventually I'm going to be down to 0 milligrams. That is the goal. And it hasn't been easy. Like when I dropped from because I went from 4 down to 2, I think that was the roughest. And I've already heard, I already know. I'm going to be honest with you, it's not easy tapering. Okay? It's not easy. You're going to have side effects. You're going to have not so pleasant moments. Just for me, I'm not trying to be gross or anything, but I had a lot of diarrhea. Couldn't really eat good. Couldn't really sleep. Thank God for the green, because the green definitely helps level that out, especially with my appetite. I've always kind of had, I don't want to say trigger warning, eating disorder, but I don't know. I haven't always had the best relationship with food, so not being able to eat, that's not good. You know what I mean? You have to be able to eat. So that was definitely a big thing. And then again, the irritability, and like I said, I'm not completely off of it yet. Like I said, I'm down to that 0.25 milligrams, but hold on. But yeah, so the next step is going to be just dropping off and just being done. You know what I mean? And I've already prepared myself. I know that there's going to be, some symptoms. It's going to take my body a little bit of time to readjust and get back to normal. It's fine. It's just part of the process. But I know it's going to be worth it, and I cannot wait to be completely off of it. But that's just me. That's just me. But I guess the whole, purpose of me making this video, I just want you to know that you're not alone. And if you are struggling, whenever you're ready, just know that there is help available to you, and if you need any help, get a hold of me. I know people who can, try to get you in treatment and stuff. If you don't have insurance and stuff, I do have resources. I can just get a hold of them and just, have them help you. Now luckily I've been fortunate, in my path to be able to get the help I need. My doctor's really good. I have other outside resources if I need it, and I'm okay, but I know not everybody has that, and I just want you to know that you can get help if you truly want it, and one thing I will say too, there's usually 3 things that happen with addicts, okay? And the first one, you keep doing what you're doing, you might find yourself in jail. Now I got very fortunate. I never went to jail. I never had to go through that part. But I'll tell you what, a lot of people that I know, they've been in and out of jail. Okay, just in and out constantly. The second thing, you're going to do what I did. You're going to wake up one day and you're going to be like, you know what? Fuck this, dude. I am tired of feeling like this. I can't do it anymore. I am tired of chasing this high. And what, it's funny because when my doctor asked me, way back when, he's like, why do you want to get sober? Why now? And I told him, I'm tired of being a slave to substance, because that's what I was from the minute I woke up to the minute I laid my head down. That is all I thought about every fucking day. Every single day. That is the only thing that mattered. Nothing else mattered. Nothing. You were literally a slave to substance. And like I said, it literally hijacks your brain. People don't understand that. And another thing too that really pisses me off, and this is just my opinion, you don't have to agree, okay? We are all entitled to think and believe anything that we want, okay? I truly believe addiction is a disease. I hear a lot of people say, oh, it's not a disease, it's a choice. To me, I think it's a disease, and I almost even think it's genetic too. I think if you have a mother or a father who is addicted, 9 out of 10 times, your child might end up being addicted to. Because like I said, my mother was a raging alcoholic back in the day. Thank God she's not anymore. I'm so grateful. And then my father, who passed away at 51 years old, he was a raging drunk. He actually got drunk one night way back when I was a baby and literally almost shot my mom in the head because he was so obliterated out of his mind. You know, but the point is I truly believe that this stuff does get genetically passed down to your children. You are more susceptible to end up being an addict because I think it's genetic. That's just my opinion. I don't know for sure. I'm not a doctor. Don't come for me, but that's just my opinion. Okay? But yeah. And a lot of people, they seem to think it's just a choice. You know, you're right. I mean, it is a choice. You know, I chose to make that choice to, you know, start blowing pills. But like I said, I also do believe that it is a disease. It hijacks you. It takes everything that you have, and it will. You know, but back to the thing I was saying. The third thing that's going to happen, you know, it's going to kill you. Okay? So you're going to go to jail, possibly, where you're going to get up like me and you're going to go get the help. You're going to call, you know, either the inpatient or outpatient, whatever it is. You're going to get clean, or you're going to pass away. So you get to make that decision. That's on you. And I really hope that you'll choose number 2, because that's what I want for you. You do matter and you are worth it. And I really hope this video goes out to somebody who needs to see it. And I just want you to know you are never alone. You are never alone. I know sometimes it feels lonely and it feels like nobody understands and it feels like nobody cares, but I promise you, they do care. There is somebody out there that cares. I care. You know, and if you need anyone to talk to or you need help, please do not hesitate to message me. You can find my email on some of my other videos if you need to talk, or just comment below. I'm here for you. I understand. I totally get it. I have lived it. I have lived through it. I understand. And I support you no matter what you do. If you want to, you know, go inpatient, do that, I support it. If you want to do what I did and go through outpatient and maybe get on some sort of MAT, whether it's, you know, Vivitrol or Suboxone or Methadone, go for it. I support you. If you want to go to AA, the 12 steps, whatever, I support you. You want to, you know, go to church and find Jesus, I support you. There is no wrong way to recover. And I don't ever want you to forget that, okay? There is a way out, I promise you. You just have to find that strength within, and I promise you, you have it. You might not be able to see it at this time, but I promise you, once you break those chains and you get out, you will see. And I'm going to tell you what, like, life is. I mean, I will say, some people even still say, oh, well, you know, you're on Suboxone, you're not sober. I don't believe that. I don't believe that because, like I said, I've gained so much back, you know, and like I said, I'm ready to take that step to completely get off of this, and I'm almost there. I've come pretty far. Like I said, I started off at 4, I'm down to 0.25, so I'm literally almost there. I'm at that last step, and I'm going to get off of it, and I'm going to be completely off of the buprenorphine, you know, and like I said, I am thankful that I was able to have the buprenorphine, the Suboxone, because it did help me. It absolutely did, you know, and one thing I will say, there's pros and cons to everything, guys, no matter what. You know, there's always going to be cons. You know, what works for me may not work for you. But I promise you there's something out there that will. And I want you to get the help because you are worth it. Okay, you are worth it. Don't ever let anybody tell you otherwise. You can do this. And I believe in you and I'm here for you. And like I said 1,000 times, if you need help, get a hold of me. I know some people who can help you. Okay, that's not a problem. I am so tired of seeing young people just passing away because they just feel like they didn't have a chance, or, you know, there's no help. There is help. I promise you there's help. You just have to be the one willing to take that step. Okay? I promise you, you can do it. But yeah, that's basically my story of, you know, my addiction. I mean, honestly, there's like so much more, you know what I mean? There's so much more that I can get into, but like I said, I'd be here forever trying to explain it, and I really don't have time for that. But overall, I hope this helps. I know this is a long video. I'm at like 40 minutes, and I do apologize. I just, you know, it's a lot to go over. And I still feel like I'm probably missing a shit ton of points that I wanted to put out, and I do apologize. But I just want you to know that there is a way out. Because I remember back when I was, you know, in my full-blown addiction, I didn't think there was a way out. I literally thought I was going to die addicted. I would literally say that. I didn't care. I didn't want to live. I was so suicidal, trigger warning. I was so suicidal. I hated myself so much. It was so horrible. It was so horrible. But I made it. I got out. And, you know, I have money in the bank now. I have a nice vehicle. You know, granted, you know, like I said, I did have that in recovery too, but see, the thing is, I didn't appreciate it. I didn't appreciate things, you know, back then like I do now. And I am so grateful for everything that I have. I am so thankful every single day. I thank God for everything that I've been given and able to keep, because I got the help that I needed. You know, and I'm a better person now. I'm more compassionate. I'm more loving. And not only to other people, but to myself. And that's what it's about. You know, and I've gained so much back in my recovery. And I'm so grateful. You know, I'm grateful for all that pain, even the, you know, very toxic relationship. You know, because I was with him for, you know, like 9 years. And unfortunately, he is still stuck. You know, and I've tried everything that I can, you know, to help him and just hope. I was really, really hoping that me getting better would make him want to get better. But unfortunately, it almost kind of seems like me getting better just made him worse. And it's hard. It is so hard to walk away from somebody that you love so much. And a little crazy story about that. And I hope this won't always be true. But, you know, I am into, you know, tarot and all that stuff. And like I said, I will make a video about like my spiritual awakening and stuff. Because actually this addiction is kind of what led me to that, which is kind of crazy. Like I said, I'm not going to get into that. That's going to be a whole nother video. I'll work on that. But I am so grateful for my addiction and everything that happened, because it made me better, it made me stronger, and it got me on the path to where I am today. But anyways, I've always been, you know, kind of intuitive, you know, and I mean, even like in my addiction, you know, I would still have, you know, little visions and little signs of things. But anyway, you know, back to my relationship. Because like I said, I wanted him to get help so bad. You know, I was like, please just get sober. Like, I did it. You know, I did it. Like, why can't you do it? Because girl or man, whoever is watching, you know, like if you've dated like an addict and you're an addict yourself, like you already know that like it is so difficult. Especially like, I mean, if you've had this experience like where you've gotten sober and your partner hasn't, you know what I'm talking about. It is so effing hard to deal with, you know, and it's not going to work, you know what I mean? Because you're trying to level up and get better, but he or she is over here and they are just sinking even more. And see, that's what I was saying. Like, I literally feel like the better I got, the more that he kind of sunk. But anyway, I had this vision that I never want to say there's no hope for people, okay? I don't even know why I'm sharing this. I just want to put this out there. I never want to say there's no hope for people, but for some reason with him, I just can't see it. I hate to say this, but there are some people who are just never going to get it, unfortunately. You know, maybe it's a soul contract. Maybe it's what they signed up for. You know, I don't know. But I just had this vision that, like, he's just never going to get better. He's never going to get help. And it's, I mean, I shouldn't laugh, but, because it's not funny. It's not funny at all. But I had ended up talking to a medium one day. And I asked her, I was like, so, you know, my boyfriend so-and-so, when is he going to get better? And I about had a heart attack when these words came out of her mouth, because it's exactly what I said. Like, actually, if I could find the video, maybe someday I could show it to you, because it was on like a YouTube live where they do like free psychic questions, but I shit you not, she's literally like, I don't want to say that there's not hope for everyone, but he just doesn't want to get help. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I thought. But you know how hard it was to hear those words? Because it's like, no, like, I don't want that for him. Like, I want him to get better, but some people just, they don't want to get the help. But one thing that I want to say, if you see this, just please don't let that hold you back, okay? Please get the help. It's way better. It's way better, and I promise you there's a beautiful life waiting for you. There is a beautiful life waiting for you, you know, and your children, you know, because I know a lot of you guys probably have children, you know, and if not for yourself, do it for them, okay, because they are so worth it, and they want to see you get better. They want to see you recover. They want to see you heal. That's what it's all about, you know, like, please, just know that there is help available. I will help you if you need it, please. I will always be here, as long as I'm breathing, but even when I'm not breathing, I'll still be here. But I just want you to know that there is hope, you know, and unfortunately, you know, maybe someday, you know, he will get help, but it's very hard to walk away from almost a 10-year relationship knowing that your partner doesn't want to get help and doesn't want to get clean. That was like the biggest slap in the face, honestly. One of the hardest things, you know. But yeah, but there are many ways to get help. You're just gonna have to try to figure out what works best for you, whether it's MAT, you know, whether it's going into inpatient. Like I said, there are different ways to recover, you know, and I don't even want to say that like one way is better than the other, because we're all different. We're all on our own paths. You know, like I said earlier, what works for me might not work for you, but I promise you there is a way out. Okay? Don't ever let anyone tell you that. I know it's scary. I know it's hard. Like I said, I've lived through it. I get it. Believe me, I truly understand. I don't just say that to, you know, sound good. I totally understand. Okay? Because I've been there myself. You know, like I said, if you ain't been there, you won't understand. But I do, and I'm here for you, and you matter, and you are worth it. I promise you. Please do not give up on yourself. It's okay. It's okay to not be okay. But I promise you that there's help. And once you can get past that hurdle and get out of that and break free, oh man, you would be surprised how many beautiful things could come your way. Because that's what happened with me, you know. I never thought I would be where I am right now, being, you know, sober and just feeling so much better mentally. You know, I went through a lot of healing, you know, and I'm not completely healed yet. You know, I have a long way to go, obviously. You know, there's other things in my life that I need to work on, but overall, I am so proud of the progress I've made. You know, and I'm so proud of you too. You can do this. I believe in you, and I am here for you. Please, if you are struggling, don't hesitate to reach out, you know, to someone. There's got to be someone out there that can help you. And I'm here, like I've said 1,000 times. Sorry, I keep repeating myself. I kind of go off on these tangents. I don't mean to. It's like the ADHD in me. But you are never alone, okay? You are never alone. You are worth it, and you matter. I hope this video can help somebody. Like I said, I apologize for kind of going off on all these little different tangents, but, you know, I'm not the best explainer, but I tried to do the best that I could. I know this is a really long video. If you watch all the way through this, leave me a comment below, okay? Like, put like a little heart down in the comments, because it's a long one. And again, I do apologize, and, you know, this is a lot different from, you know, the content I do, but I will be doing a video soon talking about my spiritual awakening and how, like, my addiction just kind of led me there, and just all the little things that I noticed, because it's kind of weird. That's what it took, was getting me sober to end up into all this shit I'm into now, like, you know, spirit guides and tarot cards and all this stuff, you know. And I always heard the joke too, like, when you get sober, like, a lot of people find God, you know, and I think that is kind of true in some cases, you know. I'm not religious, but I'm definitely very spiritual, and one thing I will say is my addiction kind of opened me up to that. I'm so grateful for it, you know. It's just, there's just been so many awesome things that have happened, you know. But anyways, I'll make a video about that soon. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it. You know, like I said, I'm going to finish off my taper. I'm hoping to be completely off of this by this August. It is going into April now. So within the next couple months, I am just gonna break off of this, and I'm gonna be good. So, and I'll let you know how that goes. You know, I'm sure I'll have a little bit of side effects. You know, like I said, I'm already prepared for that, but I'm gonna get through it. I'm gonna get through it. The hardest part, I think, is pretty much over, at least in my, you know, opinion. Like I said, it's different for everyone, you know what I mean? But that's just how I feel. And I know I'm gonna be okay. I'm ready to take that step. But like I said, if you want to stay on it, you know, you need to do what's best for you. Okay, I want you to do what's best for you and what you feel in your recovery. Okay, no matter what, don't feel pressured. You know, if you need to stay on it for longer, please stay on it for longer. If that's what's gonna save your life and keep you going the right way, please do it. Don't let anybody say any otherwise, because like I said, I know a lot of freaking people like to judge it. They don't understand. Okay, you need to do what's best for you, and that's all I can say about it. But anyways, yeah, so that's my story. I mean, there was a lot more I can go into, but I've already made this video so long. But I really hope this helps. Like I said, if you need help, please reach out. I'm here for you. Okay, I love you. I care for you. We are family. We are all family. Okay, I don't care what anyone says. But, and remember, we do recover. Bye, guys. Thank you so much.